For quite a long time, it was difficult to put into words why gamers have a dislike towards social justice activists. And I think like the main core issue is that the people who are into social justice try to destroy the identity of the gamer. And I've made an entire video talking about it, but it can basically boil down to that everyone could have been a gamer. Everyone could identify as a gamer and play games. And social justice activists don't like that because they wanted to divide the community into various identities and pit them up against each other in order to cause conflict. The purpose of this was to get their friends and their acquaintances into positions of power. Basically, they would say, well, look, gay people in gaming are being oppressed. Put me in a position of power in your company and I can fix it. Or your game is problematic in the way that it treats black people. Put me in your company, and I will start ordering things around and get them to fix the issue. It was pretty much like just a way as a power ladder for them. If you look at these positions of diversity officers in most gaming companies, they pay a lot, and the people who have these positions don't have to do a lot. You will have an actual developer or an artist working 12, maybe 11 hours a day, crunching those numbers, going home late, putting in Saturday and Sunday to work, and a diversity officer gets to be paid a lot more and usually works 2 or 3 hours sending a couple of emails or maybe planning for a little bit of a corporate retreat where they can lecture the people at the company. But other than that, they don't do much. Like, I spoke with a developer from Ubisoft, and he told me how the marketing team and the diversity department would often meet in the same room to drink wine during work hours. So it's a very comfortable position that they've created using the mainstream media, using forum moderators on important gaming websites, using influencers, using the pressure from other journalists. Like that's how they manage to shame companies into believing that there is a problem with gaming and that the only way to fix the problem is to hire these people. And most of these people aren't really that interested into video games. They just view the gaming as a way to get money, to gain influence, and as a resource to gather more activism, like get more gamers interested in whatever type of politics they have, which is why they push this idea that everything is political. It's kind of interesting because back in my day, God was in everything, right? Like religion was the dominant culture, and they would believe that God is in everything. But that doesn't mean that we have to talk about God, like when we are watching a football match. We didn't have to start quoting Bible verses whenever we decided to go on the beach. Like, this is a new concept, and I think it deserves its own video to talk about it. But basically, like, imagine if you're a social justice activist listening to this, imagine if you had a community dedicated to talk about social justice, and instead of, you make this really interesting argument, and then you notice that everyone on the forum, instead of talking about your argument and talking about social justice, they're talking about different types of coffee. And they would say, well, no, I think coffee with milk is an abomination. Like, it shouldn't exist. People that drink coffee with milk aren't welcome here. We need to make sure that no one that likes to enjoy their coffee with milk, because like milk is something that cows give and it's inhumane, only soy milk, and you're like, well, hold on a little bit, like we're talking about this intersectional issue that's very complex. It's like, shut up, that's not important, we're talking about coffee now. That's pretty much what they did with gaming. And this is a very good comic which got very popular in Japan, which explains exactly at a micro scale how gamers view people who are into social justice, right? So you have like the different gamers of different colors and different sexual orientations, and again, like it was so blatantly obvious back in 2014. You would look like a competition, for example, Evo, and you'd see like Evo would be filled with diverse people. Like you had Asian people, you had black people, you had white people. It was very diverse. And then you would look at the social justice conference about gaming, and it was a sea of whiteness. Like, trying to find a black person there was like playing Finding Wallow. It was very difficult. But they, like would constantly lecture the gaming community of not being diverse and inclusive, which is kind of ridiculous considering that Japan is one of the biggest producers of gaming in the world. Well, they weren't diverse. And this is something that even happens now. Like, if you look at all these progressive publications like Polygon, like Kotaku, like, I don't even know if Kotaku still exists, but like last year, I looked into it. All of these publications, mostly white people, mostly white men. Very little diversity, very little WhatsApp, but they will lecture other companies in becoming diverse. Isn't that interesting? Fascinating. So, you have the social justice activists going like, can I play? And they will say that they don't like something about the rules. Like, this was back in 2014, I think. And this is when companies started saying, oh, we're for the wider audience. We're for the wider audience. And they will start simplifying things. Like, think about games like Total War. The Total War series. Remember how good Total War 1 was? Rome Total War. That was like a really great game, but it was complex. It had a lot of things, right, going on there. And that's why it created a niche group of people that were really fans to the game. And the argument was that, oh no, it's too complicated, it's too difficult, let's mainstream a lot of the things. And they mainstream it and water it down until, well, I don't need to tell you what the game is like now, but obviously it's not as popular as it used to be. And if you refuse to, try to simplify the game or water it down, it's like, oh, why are you excluding me? Then we got another one. You have the social justice activist, which is almost always an entirely a white person. And they're saying, like, you're not being inclusive. And you're like, what are you talking about, okay? And they're like, no, we need to change the rules in order to make it more inclusive. Like, we need to simplify the game, or this race is problematic. And they're making these claims that aren't backed up by any survey or poll. Like, they would say, women don't play Warhammer because of the witch elves. Because the witch elves are these depictions of very sexy women, and this puts other women off from the genre. They think that the game is immature because it has like a depiction of the female body. None of this is supported by anything. It's just claims that they make out of, I don't know, like just their authority, because now they're in the positions of power that have to decide how the game can be more popular. And what's interesting is that once these changes are made, then it's like, okay, well, let's cover up the witch elves. Let's put a burqa on the witch elves or something. It turns out that the game becomes less popular. Like, people who like the game for the initial rules, they like the game for the initial concept, they like the game for the initial artwork, now don't find the things that they like there, so they move away. This is something that people from corporations never understood. If you're going to kill the game and then wear its skin as a husk, that doesn't mean that it's going to have the exact same prestige and the exact same fan base. In fact, like, more of these people, as you get to see in this comic, which is why it's really great, they're attacking the fan base. They're shooing the fan base. They're the ones excluding. Like, notice there wasn't a problem. Like, she was allowed to come in. There wasn't an inclusion problem. Like, she actually managed to get in. Then she got herself up on the table above everyone, right? Using fear tactics, I guess, and intimidation tactics. And forced everyone to listen to her. And once she's in charge, she starts excluding people. There are now less people at the table than before she came in. And this is why a lot of gamers show distrust towards companies that are pandering to these people. Because these people are not very social, and almost every single gamer by now knows about at least one franchise that they loved, and that franchise went woke and then went broke. And they don't want to lose that again. It's something that comes with an emotional attachment when you like something. Like, this is how I would explain why, if you go on a Star Wars forum, you would see that the people defending the old Star Wars forums are more angry, more vocal, more colorful in language than the people that like the new Star Wars. And the reason is that when you care about something, when you truly are invested in something, you become more emotional. You're willing to be more irrational. But when you don't care about something and it's like a resource that you're just going to use, then you're really calm about it. Like, think about it this way, right? Imagine if you just bought a new car You saved a lot of money for years and you bought a new car. And then you see me going with a key and just going on your car. Do you think you're going to go out of the house and be like, kind sir, please stop that immediately. That is not something that we tolerate. Like, now imagine if it's not your car, so you don't really care. It's a car that you really don't know, and you see someone scratching it with a key. How are you going to react? Right? You don't have the same emotional investment. So this is why, like, the people who actually care about the hobby and the medium would go on our forums, curse a lot, not really manage to articulate their thoughts because they're actually emotionally invested into this. They spend money for this. They want to keep spending money for this franchise that they grew up with and they love. Meanwhile, someone that doesn't care is not going to have the same emotional impact. The party encounters a gang of violent orcs, demanding we hand them all our money. And then the social justice activist, which is the white woman, oh my god, aren't you offended by this? No. Well, I'm offended on your behalf. And this is something that I noticed quite a lot. Most of the offense online seems to happen on behalf of other people. This is not how offense actually works. But it's more like religion actually works in a way. Like when you find out that someone is sinful and you point out their sin so that the rest of the community thinks that you're more pious. But like this is actually something that recently came up. The social justice activists consider that in Dungeons and Dragons, this is real news by the way, they consider that orcs are racist because in their mind it resembles black people. And throughout the history of Dungeons and Dragons, I have never heard this comparison. Never. What I think actually orcs might represent are Vikings, because this is a game that, originally was created by Americans and they looked at English culture. Even like the social justice activists would admit to this. And in English culture, you had the Vikings, right? That came there, they like to drink, they like to party, and they also like to conquer. They were warrior-like. So I think like that's what the orcs represent. But like again, they could represent anything, like any invaders, throughout human history, any culture that went in to conquer another culture. The culture being conquered would probably view them like orcs. Like they're these barbarians coming in to destroy our houses and our way of life. It's got nothing to do with black people. And this is my favorite. It's like orcs are people too. No, they're not. Their race is literally an orc. So like they want to push their social justice mindset into gaming. Like something that has nothing to do with orcs. Something that has nothing to do with black people. It's in their advantage if it were to do with black people, because now they have something to complain. Like now they have something to fix. Now they have like more positions of power open up to them. Like hire me, I will fix this issue. So then they say, as a fan of this game, I'm calling for the removal of the term race. You didn't know this game existed until 5 minutes ago. And if you didn't like the rules, go play something else. So it's like this really big adversity that now exists that didn't existed before. Like before it was just a couple of people joining a table and talking about games and playing games and relaxing. And now it's this like really hostile environment where you need to be very careful of what you say, because you might bring the wrath of this lady, and you might suffer the exclusions that didn't happen before. And I guess like this is the problem. When you exclude so many people, you go broke. That's what go broke means. They literally are excluding people on Twitter. Like you will see Marvel writers, you will see people working at Wizards of the Coast or AAA companies that literally tell people, do not buy our product, do not buy our game. If you do not agree with, do not buy. And there's like this Vampire the Masquerade board game, and literally on the rules it says, if you don't think you're a fascist, you're probably a fascist, and if you're a fascist, don't play our game. Like it's literally there, And I'm like, holy shit, like what are these people doing? How do they run a business with these people? It's like, imagine if you were to sell anything, like, I don't know, you open a cat cafe and you're selling cats and coffee, but you're constantly excluding people. It's like, if I'm excluded, I got friends, and I will tell my friends not to go to your business. There's even this rule that we learned at law school when we studied a little bit about economy and law, and the teacher said something to us, which is probably written by a right-winger, I guess, Because in America, they kind of omit quoting right-wingers in universities. That's a video for another time. But they basically point out that one happy customer, like one satisfied customer, might bring one or more friend next time. So he might recommend your business to someone else. A customer that is unsatisfied is going to tell 10 other people not to go to your business in the future. So this is what's happening. And they think like they can control the information because the people in the media are their friends. Yeah, I mean, word of mouth is far more powerful than any mainstream media. Like, word of mouth is far more potent than whatever journalists are going to say. Because here's the thing. Like, let's say I read an article from Kotaku that tells me this game is horrible. And they go through a lot of things. But then there's this friend that I really trust. And, you know, I spend my entire week with. And he tells me, no, I played this game. You know, it's really great. They exaggerate. Like, you should give it a try. Who do you think I'm going to believe? The opposite is also true. Like, Kotaku would say, oh, this game is amazing. And then my friend says, nah, it's shit. Who do you think I'm going to trust more? And this is why YouTubers are actually more influential than people from Polygon and Kotaku. It's because the YouTuber kind of, like, through the magic of the internet, through, you know, all the smoke and mirrors of the internet, the way they're making their content, the way they're presenting their content, they're trying to make it like they're your friend. You know, like, it's kind of like he's like your buddy in a way, especially like YouTubers who respond to their comment section or whatnot. Which is why it's more trustworthy than just reading a page of text from some guy you don't know who's very corporate, smiles on command, and, you know, like, lacks of any type of human emotion. So that's why I think this is, and this is why I think they hate YouTubers, because they're losing influence. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys in the comment section. And I will try to respond. I'm your friend.